So much of what I think many of us aspire to be. And this conversation is not just about the surprising benefits of travel, because it is linked to a lot of things like a reduction in stress, lower anxiety, and less depression. But I think there's some surprising things when it comes to travel that it really teaches us about ourselves. So, community, welcome to Beyond the Itinerary, how travel teaches us to choose ourselves. My name is Fludd, and I am a licensed therapist and mindset coach for Black and Brown women in business. And joining me on this courageous conversation today on travel, rest, self, well-being, boss moves as an entrepreneur is business model empowerment and success life coach and creator of the ibonnet, Miss Nik Stewart. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Amanda.
Oh, such a pleasure. I am glad that you are here. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. And I'm just excited. Yes. Oh, my goodness. All right. So we're going to jump right in. Let me see. So, what's two things that people may be surprised about when it comes to you? What don't they know about you?
I feel like there's a lot of things I could say. So I'm a great cook. I was on Master Chef.
Oh, wow. That's pretty dope.
Yes, I was on Master Chef top 25. I made it to the top 25 home cook chefs of season 9 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I love cooking. Something else. I would say my party trick is that I can talk like I can do a Donald Duck impression. I'm trying to figure out which angle am I going here. It could be inventing what I invented, or it could be something completely off the radar that nobody really knows unless you know me personally, I guess.
If you know, you know. Right. But listen, those are two dope things right there. So I think if we ever needed somebody to liven up the party, we can call you to do some impersonations or to cook. I love it. And you do travel, right? And you've been to, some really dope places. And one of those places is Bali, where we're going for our retreat this year. And we still have one room available, y'all, if somebody want to jump on it. But I wanted to ask you, what surprised you about that trip? What did you really love about Bali? Or maybe there are things that you didn't like about it, but.
Amanda, I have been dying to tell you this story because it's not what you think it was or is. So every year around Christmas time, we go with a group of friends to we choose a destination and we all go as a group of friends. And last year, we chose Bali. And so the group of friends were already there. And my best friend and I, we traveled a little later to meet them. And we traveled through Dubai.
Right.
And going through Dubai, we got on the plane and stuff. And as we landed in Bali, so I'm from the Cayman Islands and I have a British passport, but I also have a Cayman Islands passport.
Okay.
And I have a green card because I live in the US. Get to immigration and they said to me, okay, your Cayman Islands passport is expired. And I'm like, okay, but I have my British passport and it says Cayman on there. They said, well, you need a certain visa to come in as a British citizen or someone with a British passport. I had originally gotten a visa for it, but I didn't get the right visa. And so they decided that I had to be deported
Oh my God, isn't that scary?
back to the US, wherever I came from. And I was like, oh my God. So I flew, I think it was 8 hours to Dubai, and then from Dubai it was like another 6 hours. And as I'm sitting there in immigration, they're like, okay, well, you didn't get the right visa, and it takes about 2 weeks for you to get a visa, and we have to deport you. So they escorted me right back on the plane.
Mm.
I had to go back another 6 hours to Dubai, and from Dubai, I spent the day, I spent 2 days in Dubai,
Uh-huh.
and then another 8 hours back to the US.
Mm.
The worst thing for me on the worst thing for me on the like doing that long of a journey,
Mm-hmm.
food on the plane was something that I couldn't eat because I was allergic to gluten and
Mm.
I was dairy, and they didn't have anything for a diet restriction. So if you are traveling, I say pack a snack box. It is like I've learned my lesson. Pack a
Right.
snack box.
Check your visa and pack a snack.
Yeah, check which visa is perfect. Check your passport. See if your
Right.
passport is expired. If it is expired, whatever passport you have, check to see if there is a specific visa for that passport,
That you
because it's not all the same. It's like completely different each person. I
yeah.
was devastated. Devastated.
Listen, can I tell you, I could absolutely super relate to that. Like one time my sister was studying abroad in Italy, and I wanted to go visit her, and I could have sworn I checked and it didn't say that you needed a visa. And I had a stopover, I want to say in Russia. And I got over there, I walked over to like where I would transfer flights, and they were like, no, we can't let you into the country because you don't have a visa. Right. And at the time I didn't have a US passport. I was like, what?
Oh my God.
And they were like,
What?
we could let you go, but you may not be able to come back. I was like, what?
Oh no. Oh no. You don't want to be stuck there.
Like, what does that mean? I was like, what do I do? So I had to hurry up and go back to the plane that I came off of. And I'm all like confused, frantic. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And they were coming back. So they were like, just get on the plane, we'll take you back. But the problem was I didn't have time to call my sister. And I didn't have time to call like my husband back home to let him know that I didn't make it. So that
Yeah.
distance there and back, no one knew where I was.
Oh no.
He thought I was like kidnapped and like sold to like sex traffickers somewhere.
Now, did they charge you to get back on the plane?
They didn't. They
They
didn't.
charged me. They told me that I had to purchase a brand new ticket. And it wasn't even my fault because I went through the Dubai airport and they were like, yeah, you're good. You can go through.
And that's
So
what I said too. I said, why didn't they tell me that when they checked me before I boarded? Right? Same thing. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So note to self,
And
check your stuff before you go.
completely, because they're like, and they were like, yeah, you have to sign these papers before you get back onto this, saying that we could sue you.
Isn't that
I
scary?
was like, what? I'm not
Right.
signing that. And they're like shouting at me. They're like, sign it, bitch, sign it. I was like,
Like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this is gonna
happening?
do for me. Right.
Oh my God. I'm like, now I gotta take a photo of it. And they're not wanting me to read it. So they have their hand on it and they're like, just sign here. And I was like, no,
Oh
I can't sign that. I
no.
need to read what it says. Oh my God.
No. Listen, I have to say like that. That's definitely scary when you're out of your element in that way, right? And not to
Yeah.
scare anybody from travel, but just to know what you know before you go.
You have to. And thank God I was with my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't feel alone in
Yeah.
this franticness. And while I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to say, she's like calling and texting the lawyers and making sure like, hey, like what's happening?
What can we do?
Oh my God. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yes.
It
And
was
now
a lot.
while there's some crazy in that scenario, right? There's definitely so much benefit to travel, including
Yeah.
getting away, disconnecting the rest, exposing yourself to other cultures and experiences, I think, which is a great way to like inspire your own creativity, right? And for those of you that may be listening, definitely let us know if you're a fan of travel and getting away.
Yes.
Like it's magical, I think, if you could do it, because I think
Love it.
especially as like evolving humans, as women, like we need examples too of who we can be or how our life could be. But sometimes in order to get that example, we really do have to come out of the spaces that we're in, right? And we have to do
Yes.
some things completely different, whether that's retreating to a
Yeah.
new country, a weekend getaway, a trip to the museum, getting out of some old relationships, whatever
Mhm.
it is for you. Sometimes stepping away brings you perspective, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I would love to hear from you, whether it's going to Bali, whether it's other spaces that you've been, how has travel or just stepping out of the norm, how has that impacted your growth or just like your vision for yourself and who you're becoming?
Yeah. For me, I'm from a small island, and I remember being 17, 16, and I was like, this cannot be it. This
It,
cannot just be what is here. Like,
yeah.
I felt kind of suffocated, creatively.
Mhm.
Um, but also I was like, I'm around all the same conversations, all the same things. Like
Yes.
there has to be more. And so I actually started traveling when I was 17.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I left as soon as I graduated from high school. I took my mom's credit card and I bought myself a ticket to New York. Yes, to New York. And I was there for a couple months. And this is when I started my modeling career. I was there for a couple months. I didn't have any friends there. I didn't know anyone there.
I love it.
But it opened my mind up so much more, even just in the way that other people communicate, and
Mm.
just finding myself, how do I react to being in a situation where I don't know anyone.
Uh,
I was very introverted. It made me more so get out of my shell. Okay, you have to talk to this stranger because now you first of all, you don't know where you are. You got to ask for directions.
I need help.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It helped me in that way. It really helped me to speak more. I was very soft spoken, very
Mm,
to myself, so
mm,
scared of my voice. Um, Going and having dinner at a beautiful restaurant by myself. I love like taking myself on dates now. Like
look at
it like,
that.
yeah, like it opened, it just opens your perspective to so much more
Yeah.
uh when you travel outside of where you are or
Yeah.
where you're born, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like it helped you to grow in so many ways and become more comfortable with yourself in so many ways.
Mhm. Even more confident. At first, when I first moved away and moved to New York, I would hear their accent and I could compare immediately. And I'm like, oh my God, this is completely different from what I'm used to. And
Yeah.
to me, every single person around me had an accent.
Probably the
And
case
every
with many
person,
people here. Yeah.
yeah, and every person that met me, they were like, oh my God, you have an accent. I'm like, you have an accent.
Me?
Yeah, yeah. And the different like countries I've been to, like now you hear an accent and it's like you almost can place it where they're from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, the favorite part about your story, I think, is you made a decision and you made a decision to choose yourself and do something different. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. And the longer we stay in that struggle place, the longer I think we find ourselves in misalignment. And when we're
Yes.
not able to give ourselves the opportunity to try or to really exercise the power to make choices in line with what matters to us, I think that's when we get to this place of like unhappiness or, disease or frustration, and it leaves space for things like anxiety to happen when we're constantly worried, or even depression to happen when we're thinking about what we could have done, or how I wish life was better for us, right? But it comes down to making that decision, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you could share a little bit of what it takes to make a decision,
Mhm.
and how do we show up for ourselves, especially when it's scary, because that's a big jump. I mean, 17, it might have been exciting to get on a plane, but at some point it might have been like, whoa.
Um, I think you have to be making when you have when it comes to making a decision.
Yeah.
I think the biggest question I ask myself is, will I be proud of myself in 5 years if I make this decision? Will I have a story from this decision? What story do I want to tell
Yeah.
in 5 years from this decision? And that really plays a big part in kind of everything that I do, really. And it makes me more intentional on the decisions that I make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And really, like, every moment matters from that space. Um, and time is precious, and it shows like an appreciation and a gratitude for that, because I have to think about where I am now and what I want to do to be in that space where I can be proud of myself 5 years
Yeah.
from now, right? Or I have a story to tell, because there's going to be lessons in that, even if it doesn't go well, but
Mhm.
at least you took the chance and did that. Something else you took a chance on and did that was a really big decision. I'm curious how you got there. Was you developed the ibonnet? How,
Yes.
how did you come up with all of that? How did you decide to pursue that?
So this year, for the last year, I've been traveling a lot,
Mm,
and I would find myself not being able to sleep on planes.
mm-hmm,
And I would or even if I'm in a hotel room and the blinds don't really close, they're not blackout blinds every hotel
yeah.
that you go at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if I go to sleep at like 4 a.m., and the sun is up at 6 a.m., I'm getting up at 6 a.m. because it's so bright. And one day I was laying in my bed. I remember I was in Vegas, and I was laying there, and I had my bonnet on,
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled it down over my eyes because it was so bright. I was like, oh my God, I just wish my bonnet could like cover my eyes. I just don't understand. And I took a picture of it, and I texted to my best friend, and I was like, why doesn't my bonnet cover my eyes? This is so ridiculous. And she sends me a text message back, and she has her scarf wrapped around her eyes. She's like, girl, same, same. I'm just in this room trying to black out everything so that I can nap today. And that's when it clicked. I was like, oh wow. So I was like, hold on, let me draw something. So I drew a bonnet, and I drew an eye mask on it, and I sent it to her. I said, do you think that we can make something like this? Because there is no way. Does this exist? And can we make it if it doesn't? And we did a bunch of research, We could not find anything like at all on the internet that had the eye mask and a bonnet combo. And I was like, that's it. I'm like, we have to make it now. She's like, perfect. I'm like, well, what do we call it? And we came up with a bunch of names, and she was like, nah, I got it. She's like, it has to be an eye bonnet. And I was like, oh my God, yes, that is
Ooh,
it.
yeah.
So it was just a spiral. Then I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy some material. I'm gonna take my bonnet, and I'm gonna sew my eye mask onto it, and I'm try it out. And I did like 10 or 15 of those
Yeah.
different types of bonnets, different types of eye masks. I found someone in LA to make a sample for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like back and forth with the sample a little bit, just to kind of get it comfy where it felt good. And then we produced the ibonnet, and then we launched on February 24th of this year.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I was like
Yeah.
just around the corner.
Yeah. And we have a patent pending right now because we're trying to own the patent for that.
Mhm.
And then we have another line of we have a whole line coming just like the ibonnet.
I love that. Now, were there like really scary moments when you're like, I don't know if we could do this, right? Or like, can we handle it? Is it too much? Because sometimes as we're pursuing those goals, as we're building out like really amazing ideas, like we get caught in that headspace of noise, right? So how did you handle that? Or what advice would you give to folks who kind of struggle with those doubts?
For me, my struggle was, oh my God, if we make this invention and we put it out, somebody is gonna steal it. And then we won't be relevant, and then it won't even matter. But I was like, you know what? My best friend reminded me this. She's like, how many red lipsticks are there on a beauty shelf? I was
Facts.
like, oh, you're right. She's like, you just have to build a brand, make
Right.
a really good product, and have really good customer service, and
Yeah.
put it out. She's like, we can't live in fear. That's not how we operate. I'm like, you know what? You're right. We do not operate in fear. It's gonna be exactly what it needs to be. It's gonna do
Good.
exactly what it needs to do. I say for anyone who has any kind of fear behind
Mm,
giving exposing their ideas to the world,
mm.
um it's gonna be scary. You're gonna have problems that you run into, and I think you have to do it no matter what.
Anyway.
If if you it might be successful, it might fail, but in your failures you're gonna learn what you need to learn to move forward. So for me, I'm not afraid of failure
Mm,
because I see failure as uh it's not really it's a part of the journey, and you fail forward. You don't stop and be like, you know what? It didn't work. I can't do it.
it.
Now you go back to the drawing board. It's
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
you're cooking. It's like when you're cooking, if you tried to make rice and it got spoiled, you'd never say, I'm never trying rice again. You'll be like, all right, the next time I have to alter
Right.
the ingredients, maybe less water, a little more salt,
Mm,
until you make the perfect pot of rice.
mhm,
I
mhm.
I feel like everything is kind of like that.
Keep coming back, keep
Keep,
trying.
keep trying. You,
Yeah.
you have no idea like who you'll inspire along the way,
Mm,
even with your trying and you're not giving up. It gives other people hope that, okay, all right, I can continue. It's not the end of the world. This is not where the end is for me. You keep going. You can't really stop.
mm. And that's powerful in itself, right? I think that's really like a gift to ourselves to keep going to see what happens. We don't know what we'll give to other people, and we don't know what we'll get from that too, how we'll grow, how we'll evolve, and what we'll gain from just the
Mhm.
act of trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You find out a lot about yourself
you do.
uh through failures. I think that's where you find resilience. Like you grow the most when you fail.
Mm, yeah. I hope that really resonates with people because failure has like a bad rep.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of judgment around that, but there's so much like richness and lessons in that. And half the time it's like people don't care, it's just us and what we tell ourselves about failing, but it is a awesome space to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So what a good conversation. I think there's so many places that like you've stepped out in your life, right? From right back to being 17, you're like, no, this is not it for me. And everything after that. And it sounds like you've learned a lot about yourself along the way, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to choosing you and taking chances. If there's one more message you had to leave for folks about doing that for themselves, what would you say?
I say, when you decide to do the things that scare you the most, you choose yourself by moving forward. If you stop, you stop the growth. Did that make sense? Because it just came out of my mouth. It just came out.
Well, it fell out beautifully. Oh man, I think it's one of those things that you have to allow it to sit and resonate with you. As I think most of this conversation, I think it's like, what are the little nuggets that really speak to me? And can I hang on with that or hang on to that and keep walking with that for a little bit and see what it means for me and how I need to shift with that in mind.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. There's so much that we can learn from each other in our stories and in our own growth. So thank you for sharing and thank you for letting it all just like flow. I appreciate
it. One, you know what? Well, I'll leave you with one more. One philosophy that I live by. I feel like people, they see failure as losing, and they think that life is this win-lose situation. You either win or you lose. But really and truly, is you either win or you learn. That's it. That's it. There's no losing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can have so much fun along the way. Like before we got on here, we were talking about how we're athletes, right? And
yes.
We didn't win every race and event, right?
No.
Right? But there's so much we gained, because I'm sure this was similar for you. Like I love the relationships that I've gained along the way because of track and field and being competitive. And like we wanted to win, but it was fun just like hyping each other up. It was fun like getting ready for events. It wasn't always fun training. So many things. And you learn your limits, you learn how you can push yourself, you learn to be disciplined, you learn to balance. So even if we never won a race, there's so much that we walked away with in that space.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that you're saying around failure. There's so much that you can walk away with, even if you never achieve the thing, but at least you put yourself in a position to gain all the other like unseen, unexpected benefits.
Yeah. I think about all the things that I learned from each experience that I have, no matter if I failed or not. Yeah. It's like, well, what did you get from it? And that's what I go off with. Like, well, this is what I got. And let's go.
Let's go. Tell people where they can go find the ibonnet now. Where can they go?
For right now, the ibonnet is available at stcayman.com, and it's STCAYMAN.com. Or you can go to our Instagram, which is saint.cayman.
I love how you put the Cayman in there.
Oh my God, yes. I definitely want to bring it back home in some way. And that's how we decided to do it.
I like that. In some way, we always come back home.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Whew. Nik, thank you so much for your time. Such a pleasure. And I hope all y'all go ahead. Say it again.
I said, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, and everyone listening, please go ahead and show her some love, whether you go check out the ibonnet, whether you just go follow her on Instagram at Nik Stewart, whether you just follow the channel. We really appreciate you guys holding space with us and taking what you can from the experience and the story, even if it's just a reminder of like who I am, where I'm going, who I am becoming, and the things I can think of along the way and remember along the way. We still appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so awesome.